It was a quiet evening, in a small town, tucked far away from the buzz of city life. The kind of town where secrets slept under dusty attics and whispers clung to the wind like old memories. But that night, something felt different. The wind blew colder, the sky hung heavier, and in the shadow of a flickering street lamp, a story began that no one would forget. A young boy, maybe 16, sat alone on the last seat of a city bus. His name was Jaden, a quiet, thoughtful teenager with earbuds in his ears and a sketchbook in his lap. He wasn't from around here, just visiting his aunt for the summer. But even in his short time, he'd noticed the town was strange, too quiet, too still, like it was holding its breath. Jaden was headed home from the library, his usual spot for peace. But as the bus stopped near an old market street, something unusual happened. A pregnant woman stepped in, pale, tired, and visibly uncomfortable. Without thinking, Jaden stood up and offered his seat. She gave him a faint smile, thanked him, and sat down slowly, cradling her stomach. But before he could plug his music back in, she leaned toward him and slipped something into his hand, a note, folded neatly, like it had been prepared long ago. "Read this only when you're alone," she whispered, her voice almost drowned out by the hum of the engine. Her eyes, deep and unreadable, held his for a second too long, and just like that, she was gone at the next stop. No goodbye, no name. Jaden opened the note as soon as he got home. The handwriting was messy, rushed, but what it said made his heart stop. "You've been chosen. Don't ignore the signs. Go to the attic. Trust the doll." He read it again and again. Was it some kind of prank? Who was this woman? And what attic? That night, Jaden couldn't sleep. Not just because of the note, but because of the dreams. He saw a candle burning in total darkness. He saw blood dripping into a bowl and a doll staring at him, smiling. The next morning, he asked his aunt about the attic. She hesitated, then shook her head. "Nothing up there but old junk and dust. Don't bother." But her tone said more than her words. Her voice cracked just slightly. Her eyes didn't meet his. That's when Jaden knew. She was hiding something. That evening, curiosity pushed him up the narrow, creaking staircase to the attic door. It was locked, of course, but he found the key in the most unexpected place, tucked beneath a loose brick in the fireplace, just like his dream had shown. The attic smelled of old wood, dried flowers, and something else, something metallic. Candles melted into odd shapes, lined the corners of the room. Dried herbs hung from the ceiling. In the center sat a box, and inside the box, a doll, worn, stitched. Eyes like glass, but there was something about it. It felt alive. He picked it up, and the room seemed to shift, like the air itself held its breath. That's when his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Do not leave the attic until you light the candle." He looked down. A black candle. I sat by the box, and next to it, a match. This was no game. This was no prank. Jaden lit the candle. The flame flickered violently, casting long shadows on the wall. Shadows that moved when he didn't, and then he heard it. A whisper. Low, close. "She chose you because you're not afraid." He turned. No one. The doll had fallen from his hand, but it was sitting upright now, staring, still smiling. Jaden's mind raced. What had he stepped into? Some old ritual, a hidden curse, or something darker? Outside, the wind howled like it hadn't in years, and from the attic window, Jaden saw figures. In the street, cloaked in black, gathering, waiting. But waiting for what? He didn't know yet. But the note in his hand began to change. The ink twisted into new words, right before his eyes. The blood moon is near. You must finish what she started. What did it mean? What did the woman start? And why Jaden? He looked back at the doll, and for the first time, it blinked. Everything was about to change, and that was only the beginning. Jaden stood frozen in the middle of the attic, staring at the doll with wide eyes. It had blinked. He was sure of it. He stepped back slowly. His heart beat loud in his ears. The candle flickered again, casting shadows that moved like they were alive. The room felt colder now, like the air itself had turned heavy. The doll sat there, motionless again, as if daring him to question what he just saw. He looked at the note still in his hand. The new message burned into the paper like it had always been there. The blood moon is near. You must finish what she started. What did that even mean? And who was she? The pregnant woman from the bus. Was this all connected to her? Jaden took a step toward the box again. He looked inside, hoping for some kind of clue. There were more strange items tucked inside. Dried rose petals, what looked like an old tooth wrapped in cloth, and a small glass vial filled with something thick and dark. Blood maybe, or something worse. He didn't want to think too hard about it. He picked up the vial carefully and held it up to the candlelight. The liquid moved sluggishly, almost like it was alive. As he stared at it, he felt something shift in the room again. Not physically, but like a presence. He wasn't alone? Not really. Something else was there, watching, waiting. Jaden put the vial back in the box and looked around. His aunt had lived in that house for years. Ever since his mom moved to the city, he had always thought she was a little odd, always burning incense, locking her doors at sunset, and whispering strange prayers under her breath. He thought it was just a part of her being old-fashioned, but now he wondered if it was something else entirely. When he came downstairs, his aunt was in the kitchen. She didn't look at him as he walked in, just kept stirring something in a pot, her face tight and pale. "You went up there," she said quietly. Jaden didn't answer. "You lit the candle, didn't you?" Her voice was barely above a whisper, but there was no mistaking the fear in it. He nodded. She finally turned to look at him, her eyes tired and filled with something he'd never seen before. Not anger, not sadness. It was closer to dread. "She found you," she said. "I was hoping maybe she wouldn't. But once the candle burns, there's no stopping it." Jaden sat down slowly. "Who found me?" His aunt sat across from him and took a deep breath. Her name was Nandita. She lived in this town a long time ago. A young girl, no older than you. They said she was strange. People whispered she talked to spirits, played with things she shouldn't have. Dolls, candles, blood rituals. They blamed her when bad things started happening. Crops failed, livestock died, a little boy went missing. People were scared. Jaden leaned in, his voice low. "What happened to her?" His aunt hesitated. "They called it an accident. A fire? But it wasn't. They set her house on fire, with her inside. They thought killing her would end the curse, but it didn't." Jaden's mouth felt dry. "And the doll," his aunt nodded. "It was hers. The only thing that survived the fire. People said it was cursed. Anyone who touched it either went mad or disappeared." He swallowed hard. "Then why is it in your attic?" "Because someone had to keep it safe. Someone had to make sure it stayed locked away. Your grandmother did it before me. Now, I guess it's your turn." Jaden shook his head. "No way. I didn't ask for this." His aunt gave him a look. "Neither did I." He didn't sleep much that night. The candle had burned out on its own, But the feeling it left behind didn't fade. He kept dreaming of the doll, of Nandita, of the pregnant woman on the bus, and her cold, serious eyes. Every time he closed his eyes, the images came rushing back. The figures in the street, the blood moon, the whispering shadows. The next day at school, things felt different too. People looked at him like they knew something, like they could sense something had changed. Even his friend Malik asked if he was okay. "You look like you haven't slept in a week, man." Jaden just shrugged it off. Just weird dreams. He didn't tell anyone about the candle, or the doll, or the fact that when he walked past mirrors now, sometimes his reflection didn't quite match his movements. That afternoon, he went back to the attic. He didn't want to, but something inside him pulled him back. The box was still there, the doll too, but now something new was waiting. A small notebook. It hadn't been there before. He picked it up and opened the first page. The handwriting was shaky, hurried.